Have you ever been deep into some niche academic topic and thought, this deserves its own journal? Well, for most of us, that's where the idea just stops. Launching a scholarly publication seems like this huge, expensive thing that only big universities can pull off. But what if I told you that's not really true anymore?
Yeah, for a long time, the answer to that question was a pretty firm yes. I mean, the technical hurdles, the administrative costs, they were just way too high for most people. But the whole landscape of academic publishing is shifting, and some really powerful new tools are opening the doors for basically anyone with a great idea.
And that is the key. In this explainer, we're going to walk through how one single piece of free software can help you build and manage a totally professional research journal right from scratch. We'll cover everything from the initial planning stages all the way to getting your journal recognized by the rest of the academic world.
Okay, so first things first. Before we even think about downloading software or anything technical, we need a solid plan. Seriously, just like building a house, you have to start with a good blueprint. This is the strategic foundation that everything else is going to rest on. Getting these fundamentals locked in early is absolutely essential. A professional domain name, for instance, it just builds immediate credibility. You're also going to need some web hosting that supports PHP and MySQL, which, don't worry, is a super common and affordable setup that this software needs to run. But here's the most important part. You have to define your journal's identity. What's its name? What's your specific niche? How often are you going to publish? And what are the rules of the game, your editorial policy for submissions and peer review? Nailing all this down on paper first is going to save you so many headaches down the road.
All right, with your blueprint in hand, it's time to find the engine that's going to power this whole thing. And this is where Open Journal Systems, or OJS for short, comes into the picture.
So what is OJS exactly? Well, it is so much more than just a website builder. Think of it more like a complete all-in-one management platform that was specifically designed for the unique workflow of an academic journal. It handles everything, from the moment an author submits a paper to the final publication. And the best part? Because it's open source, it is completely free to use. This right here is its core function. OJS takes what could be a really chaotic mess of emails, attachments, and spreadsheets and just organizes it all into one single clean workflow. An author submits their work through a portal, the system helps you manage the entire peer review process, and then an editor can publish the final article. It all happens in one place. Simple. All right, so you've got the plan, you've chosen the software. Now it's time for the one-time technical setup. Now, this part can sound a little intimidating, but it's actually a surprisingly straightforward process of getting OJS installed on your web host and then configured for your journal.
Let me just give you a quick walkthrough of how this works. First, you'll upload the OJS files to your web server. Then, you'll create an empty database for it to use. After that, you just run a simple installation wizard right from your web browser. It'll ask for some basic information, and at the very end, you'll create your main administrator account. And that's it. The core technical setup is all done. Once OJS is installed, you log in as the administrator and start bringing your journal to life. This is where you'll input all that information from your blueprint, your policies, contact details, and the journal's scope. A really critical step here is applying for an ISSN. That's an International Standard Serial Number, which officially registers your publication. You'll also set up the user roles for editors and reviewers, and, of course, make sure the website looks clean and professional to build that all-important trust with your community. Okay, so the website is built and the system is all configured. Now we shift gears from that one-time setup to the day-to-day operations. How does a manuscript actually move from a writer's computer to a published article in your journal? This is the core workflow you'll be managing. This flow is basically the heart and soul of scholarly publishing, and OJS is built to manage it just seamlessly. It starts when an author submits their paper online. The editor gets a notification and assigns that manuscript to peer reviewers. Those reviewers then submit their confidential feedback right back through the same system. Based on those reports, the editor makes a decision: accept, reject, or ask for revisions. And if it's a go, the final version gets prepped and published right on the live journal site.
And finally, we get to what is maybe the most important phase of all: growth. I mean, having a great journal with a smooth workflow is fantastic, but it doesn't mean much if nobody can find it. Now you have to get your journal on the map and get it recognized by the wider academic community. This comparison shows you exactly why getting indexed matters so much. Without it, your journal is kind of like an island. It's isolated, it's hard to find, and that limits your audience and your credibility. But once you're indexed in academic databases, you become part of the global scholarly conversation.
Your journal is discoverable, it's seen as credible, and it can reach a worldwide audience. It's a total game changer.
So how do you get there? Well, it all starts with quality. You have to publish high-quality, well-vetted articles over and over again, consistently. And you have to maintain a really rigorous, transparent peer review process. Once that foundation is solid, then you can start applying for indexing in the major databases, like Google Scholar and the Directory of Open Access Journals, or DOJ. Getting listed in these is a massive stamp of approval for any new publication.
You know, when you step back, what this all really comes down to is a fundamental shift. The old technical and financial barriers to scholarly publishing, they're disappearing. Tools like OJS are putting the power to curate and share knowledge directly into the hands of academic communities themselves. And that leaves us with a pretty big question. As the old gatekeepers start to fade, who gets to decide what knowledge is actually worth sharing with the world?